Hello, everyone. Welcome to our channel, Scientology Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and I'm here with my co-host, Janis Gillum Grady. How you doing, Janis?
I'm good. G'day, Mark. G'day, everybody. And
Yeah,
this is
and I
fun.
see.
We haven't done a live in a while, so this is
No,
nice.
we haven't. No, we've been tied. Our schedule's been kind of tied up. Different things. You were in Florida for a while, and I did. The last live I did was with Mitch Brisker at the beginning of the month, talking about his book. And then we both had things that we had to do in our personal lives, and but we did have guests on, right? I mean, who all have we interviewed recently? That's going on,
Well, we've done several with Sandy Holman, talking about the old ship days, and now we're
right?
talking about Clearwater days when we invaded Clearwater.
Yeah.
And next, we're going to be covering the Mission Network. And we've also had John McLean on again, covering the ship days in Morocco and the dangers that we lived through there. And now we're also talking about later days when his mother and he were under heavy fair game by the Guardian's office. And then we've got Jackson coming on with us live next week. And
Yeah,
this Saturday,
Jackson hasn't been on, for a while, but you've talked to him, and he's going to come on live with us, and we'll work out the day on that. But yeah, this coming Saturday, let me go ahead and put this
go
coming
ahead.
Saturday, we're doing a live with Scott and Carrie Campbell. If any of you've seen their videos on our channel about their time in Scientology on the Free Winds, their horrific story that happened about them. That Scott being basically bound and gagged and basically held against his will or held prisoner because he quote unquote was lost his mind. Anyway, we did those. They're on our channel. You can watch them, and people have been asking to do a Q&A with them. So we're doing that this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Right here on our channel. So if you guys are interested in that, you'll be able to ask them questions, and we'll be talking about that. But they're really two really great people, right, Janis?
Oh, absolutely. Scott was, when Paul was dying, Scott is who I called, for help with hospice. And he came up immediately, and he was with me when Paul passed away. So I've been very grateful to him. And we have a long-term friendship since '88.
That's right. That's right. And
And
then how are your boys, Rocky and Moose?
they are just such characters, I'll throw the ball for them, and one gets the ball and the other gets the other one's leg or the collar. And, then it's like no more interest in the ball because they're too busy fighting each other. They're fun.
That's
And
like the
then,
same with Misha. You'll probably hear her at some point. She she's outside and but right here where she can make herself known every once in a while. We want to welcome everybody here that's in the chat right now. We definitely see you there, and we're going to be answering your questions. How this is going to go? We're going to talk about the origins of what was known as the running program. Back in the early 1980s, L. Ron Hubbard is one of the last things that he worked on before he, took off and was dead and all that jazz, right? But we're going to talk about that because Janis was numero uno guinea pig on the running program, right, Janis?
yes, I was. And it's a proud badge I wear.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's Misha right there on cue. Anyway, so we're going to talk about that. But I also wanted to mention too, Misha barking. We're going to do a book giveaway of one of Janis's books. Okay, to anybody who's in the United States, we're going to, you'll get an autographed copy of the book, and we're going to do that giveaway right before we go to questions and answers after we talk about the running program. So you're going to want to stick around and try and win a free copy, autographed copy of Janis's book, Commoner's Messenger, Book 1. Or book 2, whichever one you prefer.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that's for people in the United States. It's just too cost prohibitive for us to send it to the non-US. We sent one to Australia. Janis, what was it? $40 to send to Australia?
$48.
Just to send one book to Australia. And we did it because, the person ordered it and they didn't know that, we couldn't ship it that far. But anyway, we went ahead and did it, and we shipped the book out, and we hope that they enjoy it. So anyway, so we're going to do that. And then also, if you have any questions or comments, write the word question. You know the drill. Write the word question in front of it, so that way either Janis and I can star it, and then we'll come back to it when we go into questions and answers after talking about the running program. And also, we just want to remind everybody, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button. You guys know the drill. Yeah, we really appreciate it if you would do that. And also hit the like button, or as Janis likes to say, rock slam that like button. And
that's right.
Awesome. All right. So Janis, are you ready to start?
Yes, I am. But what I want to just kind of warn everybody of, this is not just about the running program, but it will also show you how brainwashed I was. and how I can persist. So, all right. So let me start. This was I'm estimating this was probably around the end of 81, beginning of 1982. And the location is at the Gilman Hot Springs at the Gold Base in just outside of Hemet. So here's a map just to give you an idea of where Gold is in relationship to Los Angeles. And we always called it SHQ for Summer Headquarters, or S, which was short for Special Unit. And these days, I guess it's just called the Gold Base or the Int Base. So it's got many different names. But anyway, that's where I was when this whole story began. Now, I had been covering a few jobs. One, I was trying to work out a decent staff pay with LRH before he left. And I'd also recently done a project in finding executive resources. So my job was all personnel changes at the Flag Land Base or management all had to come through me. And I also had the job of International Relations Director, which was a coordinating job between Mary Sue and the Sea Org, basically the Commodore's Messenger Org. So these are different functions that I was holding. Meanwhile, other senior messengers like Dee Dee or Gail and Lois, they were on Watchdog Committee. And at this time period, Hubbard got very pissed off at Dee Dee. This is the Gold Base here. And he got mad at her and had her removed from post. And when she got removed, I always thought it was because she stopped the monthly Buy Now, and had talked to Mary Sue about it. But Dee Dee says it was for another reason.
Yeah, the buy, just so people know, Buy Now means Buy Now was just the price increases. The prices for services were going up every month, 5% or whatever it was. I can't remember. So it was used as a tool to encourage people to buy now. So anyway, but
yeah,
prices were getting out of hand anyway.
And it had been going on for maybe 2-3 years, and LRH was off the line. So someone had to make that decision. Anyway, so Dee Dee made that decision, and that's why I had always thought she was removed, but she thought she was removed for saying something to the LRH biographer that LRH wasn't happy about. Anyway, so Dee Dee gets removed, and Gail, her sister, is put on as the commanding officer of the Commodore's Messenger Org, and David Miscavige is made special project ops, and he is moved out of the command of the Commodore's Messenger Org and directly under Pat Broker and LRH. So things are going all right, and Gail has to send up a whole bunch of reports to Hubbard. I'm not involved in any of this because I'm doing my own little projects. Then all hell breaks loose with Gail and everyone involved with her of false reporting to LRH on how well Scientology was doing while he was gone. So Gail ends up getting removed, and DM is now trying to find a new commanding officer for the CMO, and he's going to put John Nelson on, and John Nelson had just been a mission ops under Miscavige. There's a picture of John Nelson there with the beard, and he's sitting with Steve Marlowe, who was in the Commodore's Messenger Org in Clearwater. So John Nelson is going to be made the CO, and I object to it. And I'm like, Dave, why are you picking John Nelson? Why don't you put Mark Yeager on or something like that? And Dave's excuse was, well, Yeager was involved in the false reports to LRH with Gail. And I'm thinking, well, you were right involved with all those reports along with Yeager and Gail. And I didn't believe those were false reports because Gail is not the type of person to powder puff anything and lie. That is just not in her. But there she was now being removed because of some report from probably the special project ops saying that she was responsible for this. So John Nelson becomes the commanding officer. And the next thing you know, I'm being COMEV'd and removed. And I go back, I have to go do laundry for the other messengers and stuff like this in cleaning rooms while I get a committee of evidence. The committee of evidence, there I am, the committee of evidence doesn't find me guilty. And so they all got removed from my COMEV and COMEV themselves unless they found something on me. So they made some crap up, and then it kept being rejected until they reduced my rank from lieutenant commander to lieutenant. So fair enough. I do whatever I have to for cleanup, and then I get put back into the organization, and now I am the action chief, which means it's my job to run the various troubleshooting missions. And while I was on the project force, the messengers under DM supervision had started the GEO takeover. So they were taking out Jane Kember, they were taking out Mary Sue and all these people and firing missions. So I go into action, and I now take over the mission that's running the US GEO, which was Vicky Asner ran. And so I'm working on this, and I'm on a very late schedule. And then I'm talking to my brother one day, and he's giving me his waterbed, and he gives me his motorbike, and I'm like, uh-oh, something's going on here. You don't just give all this stuff away. So I asked him, I said, am I going to see you again, or is there something going on? And then he was telling me about how gold staff were like being treated like dogs, and Shelley Miscavige was covering the commanding officer temporarily of the Commodore's Messenger Org for gold, and that Shelley was enforcing stupid things. And anyway, so my brother was telling me this. There's a picture of Shelley with Dave. So as the action chief, I decide I am going to send in a mission to observe Shelley and her operation and how gold is being treated. And so I go to Yeager, who's my boss. He's the chief officer. And I say, Mark, I want to send this mission. He says, I agree. Let's go in and talk to Steve Nelson, who's the commanding officer, and who John Nelson, who knew I didn't want him on as commanding officer. So we go into his office, and I'm telling him what's going on with CMO Gold and Gold. And he says, no, you're not sending that mission in. I'm like, why? He says, because I don't want to have to deal with Dave if something comes up on Shelley. So my response is, with or without your permission, I am firing this ops mission. And I walked out of his office. So I grab Mo Samuels, I get her in briefing, and I send her out. And she starts sending me information. I'm like, Mo, get me whatever you can as fast as possible. Well, the next thing you know, I am busted again. Back to the Estates Project Force for non-compliance, because John Nelson had told me not to fire the ops mission, and I did it anyway. So there I am on the decks, the Estates Project Force, and a few days later, Shelley joins me because the ops mission found she wasn't operating on policy, so forth. So that fair enough, Shelley and I are now working, doing deck work. Then Laura Marlowe, the wife of Steve Marlowe, who was in that picture,
right.
she she was Miscavige's assistant, and she gets in a major car accident that practically killed her. So Shelley was grabbed off of working on the decks with me and made Dave's assistant.
Yeah. Now this was Dave was mainly in Los Angeles in that time period, and I remember when that happened because all of a sudden it was like Shelley is now working for Dave, and it was kind of like, boy, that's a kind of a cozy relationship. You get your wife working with you.
Right, exactly. Well, of course, me being a big mouth, I start voicing my objections to what Shelley now going and working with Dave, and then these other people like Vicky Azaran being posted, and all these different things that I I knew everyone's personnel records, so I knew who had executive qualifications or LRH standards and who didn't. So I'm voicing this, and the word got out how disaffected I was. So the next thing you know, I'm now busted, and because I hadn't had ethics change while on the decks, I was assigned to the RPF. Now, the Rehabilitation Project Force. So there was none at the Gold Base. It was in LA. So they shipped me off to LA, and I was refusing to do it's my standard thing. If I'm assigned the RPF, I refuse to do it, and I've got a habit of that. So now I'm in PAC, refusing to do the RPF. So I'm assigned to the RPF's RPF. And I'm in the tunnels of the complex, the big blue building. You have a picture of the complex before it was painted blue? Yeah, there it is. Anyway, so now I'm in the RPF's RPF in the tunnels, and I'm still refusing to work. And I'm just sitting there in the tunnels with the pipes and so forth. And interestingly enough, the non-RPFer whose job was RPF in charge, he comes down to see me, and he was someone I had known on the ship, and I was surprised. I didn't know he'd come back in the Sea Org. His name was Jason, and he says, I've come down to talk to you and see what I can do to help, because when I was on the ship, you helped me, and I feel I owe that to you. I was like, wow, okay, well, that's really nice. But and he arranged for food to be brought down to me because I wasn't allowed to eat with the rest of the RPFers. But I boycotted it, doing the RPF's RPF. And the rooms were, 3 bunks high, 4 bunks high, whatever. And but I was kept separate. No one was allowed to talk to me because I was not part of the RPF. So anyway, I guess reports went up that I was refusing, and Miscavige actually came down to the tunnels and saw me, and he said, you need to go up and see your sister who's working on a special project, and she's going to have you go back to the base. So I'm like, oh, okay, good. I get to go back to the base. And so I go see my sister. She tells me, go on back and go see David Mayo. You're going to be on a project under him. So I go back to the base, and David tells me that I'm going to be working on grounds work while I get set checked by his wife at the time, Meryl Mayo. Yes.
And I'll explain who David Mayo is to everybody who doesn't know.
David Mayo was the most senior technical person in Scientology under L. Ron Hubbard. He was the senior case supervisor internationally. So I was to be assigned under him to go through a cleanup program of getting security checked, where they run a list and they're asking you what you've done and trying to find out your transgressions. So I'm going through daily sec checks with Meryl Mayo, and when I'm not getting sec checked, my job was gopher in charge. So my job was to go to the golf course and set little gopher traps and catch the gophers, of which I was paid 10 cents for each gopher.
Let me show. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me show. Okay. So this is the property here. Okay. But this is the property from the air. This is like way years later. all that green grass you see there, the golf course stuff, that was all sagebrush and dust because the golf course had been left to go to weeds. Okay, and then to the left there, you see all that look sort of sand color. That's the other side. That's not the property for Scientology. That was some other farmer's property. And then there was a levee, like a dry riverbed there that you could see that butts up against the green grass. But Janis, that was 600 acres, and you were responsible for going and catching gophers on that property by yourself. There was what didn't look like this in those days, right?
No. Yeah, so in the morning I'd go out and I'd set the traps, and in the afternoon I'd come back and empty the traps out, and that was my job. And then
how successful were you? Were you upstat, or what happened with
yes, the gophers? I was upstat. I caught many gophers. And then I was given another job, and that was to mow some lawns. So I got a picture of this, what the lawnmower kind of looked like. So I'd ride around when I wasn't catching gophers. I'd ride around on this little lawnmower, and I'd wear my bikini to get the sun. I had the greatest suntan as I'd ride around the base in this lawnmower. Anyway, so meanwhile, I was going through the sec checks with Merrill Mayo while I was mowing lawns and catching gophers. And then one day, Blake Huffam comes up to me, and Blake was the grounds in charge, so I worked with him. He taught me how to, mow the lawns. He taught me how to drive a tractor and stuff like that. That's Blake and I a few years after this whole incident. And Blake I'd known since I was 4 years old back in Australia. Anyway, he came up to me one day and he says, Jan, you got to keep your mouth shut. They're talking about declaring you, offloading and declaring you. And then Amy Clifford, who was the commanding officer of Gold at the time, also said the same thing to me. There's talk of declaring you because you won't shut up about your disagreements with what's going on. And my disagreements was how management was being handled, and these different people who were dedicated Sea Org members were being treated, and people being offloaded and not appreciated, and, exactly what I was going through, these other people were going through. It was a brutal time, but, I was a dedicated Scientologist, and I hung in there, and no matter how much they tried to knock me down, I kept coming up. Anyway, so there I was now being told, be careful, they're going to try and declare you and offload you. So I finally finished my sec check program with Merrill, and I'm called into ethics, and I am told I am being offloaded and declared. I'm like, but I finished the program. Well, then I asked the ethics officer why. What didn't David Mayo say I finished? And he said, yes. David said, you're no longer disaffected, but there's no guarantee you won't be disaffected in the future. And that was when they decided, well, she's not really handled because she might become disaffected in the future. So let's offload and declare her. So I'm like, whoa. And so there's Paul and I, and for a week, I held out by petitioning Vicky Azaran, saying, hey, I'll behave. I'll shut up. I've never been out in the real world. Here I am now being thrown out there when I've been born in Scientology, in the Sea Org since I was 11, only held Sea Org jobs. And my husband was there, and they're sending me off without him.
Yeah, I was going to say, where was Paul in all of this? What was going on with him?
Paul was pulled into ethics, and he was being told to divorce me because I was an SP and being kicked out. So he kept saying, no, I'm not divorcing her. And how about you let me route out or take a leave of absence, and I'll help get her established in the WOG world. And then I'll come, we'll work things out. Anyway, so no one was going to listen to Paul. They just kept him in ethics and kept him on his job, because he wouldn't divorce me, and they wouldn't let us get together to talk. So I'm then put in the van with a suitcase, and I go to LA, and I'm kind of like, where do I go? And I'm like, the only person I know is my dad, but he's in good standing. And you can't have an SP staying with a good standing Scientologist. So they were like, well, we know you're not really an SP, so we're going to let you stay with your dad. So I end up arriving at my dad's. I go to the store. I go, Dad, I got nowhere to go. I've been kicked out. So he put, he had a fold-up couch. So I slept on that. And that night at 3:00 in the morning, I get a phone call from Paul. And by now I'm like, okay, I am so done. Now Paul is trying to convince me to come back. I'm like, wait a minute. They just, in the afternoon, they got rid of me. How come now in the middle of the morning, they want me to come back? And I'm like, no, Paul, I don't want to come back. And so for his sake, I finally said, okay, for your sake, I'll come back. So I come back the next day, and I go back to report to David Mayo, and he shows me a letter from L. Ron Hubbard. And I didn't know that John Nelson, as the commanding officer of the Commodore's Messenger Org, had also been removed and was in trouble. But I never saw John again. But this letter from LRH said, have Janis and John Nelson run. That's all it said. And so I'm like, okay, where do I run? And David's like, I don't know. It just says run. So just go run. And I'm like, okay. So I just go and I just start running down Highway 79 and waving at Jackson in the security booth as I go by. And I'd run all the way down to the bridge, and then I'd run all the way back the other way, and security's kind of watching me as I run back and forth. And I'd never run like this before. And then I'd go in for lunch, and no one was allowed to talk to me because I was still an SP. I was the only person on the base that was a suppressive person, and everyone was told, do not talk to her. And I'd go inside, get some food, and I'd go sit down, and I'd eat my lunch, and I'd go to stand up, and my legs would just freeze up. The muscles just spasmed and froze, and such pain, because I hadn't run like this. Anyway, so I just ran everywhere, and then I finished the running. I had this cognition. I can't hear you.
All right, Misha was barking. Sorry about that. Okay. So what did you think you were doing?
Well, I just had to run until I was kind of like, I felt really good. I mean, running is going to make you feel good. I built up some muscle. I had a suntan. Dan Kuhn says to me, us guys here took a vote and we think you have the best legs on the whole base. Well, that's a hell of a compliment.
But they didn't tell you like run to exhaustion, then walk, or anything like that, which later became the running program? Nothing.
It was just run.
Were you supposed to write up like daily reports to David Mayo or anything about your progress on running?
Yeah, I would just write and say, well, I ran here and I ran there, and I, pretty much running 12 hours a day for never not running at all. And or I'd hobble along with my legs, muscles frozen up. And I just ran and ran and ran, and I wrote, and I saw this and I noticed this, and I'm feeling really good, and there wasn't a pole or a tree or anything like that at this point. It just said run. So that's what I did. And then finally David accepted it. And so then I went back to just catching gophers and mowing lawns. And I'd write and say, what am I to do now? And I'd not hear anything. So I ended up, I'd have to, because I was the SP on the base, my meals were going to the back of the galley and knocking on the door, and they'd give me my food because I wasn't allowed to eat with anybody. And Paul was the only person that would talk to me. And, I lived with Paul. We were down in the G units. And I had my dog, Babe, who she ran with me. And then she gave up running. She couldn't run she couldn't run as far as I was going. She gave up. You should just sit there and watch me. Anyway, so then what happens? Then I hear that there was a new advice that came down, and David Mayo's been busted. And they all had to run around a tree. And I think I put the cottonwood tree in the pictures. So
Yeah,
David, so David now has to run. He's under the same advice I was under, but it was pointed out that I should have been running around a stable point, not just anywhere, but around a tree or a pole. So this is just to kind of show part of the base. This is an old picture when it was a country club before Scientology bought it.
He ran behind him. That's Massacre Canyon Inn. He ran behind that on that grass around a tree.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Like a tree like this.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Yes. Just a tree like that. And he and Julie
Gillespie.
Julie Gillespie, who later married David.
Right.
David divorced Merrill, and he ended up marrying Julie. And so they were all assigned to go do the running program and run around a tree. And they were much older than me, you know. I was in my 20s, I think, at the time. So I was in pretty good shape, and they were older. So they started running around the tree, and that's when there was more advices coming down on it to make sure there's that stable point to run around rather than just everywhere like I did. And when Paul and I were down in the G's, and Paul got sick, and I would just go off and do my gopher and lawn and come back. And then Julie was put in our living room in the G's. We had 2 rooms and a living room with a wall. So Julie was sleeping in our living room, and David was in a different G unit. And so it was funny when David Mayo suddenly started showing up on the internet after having been, off the scene for a long time. Someone says to me, "Hey, do you really think this is David Mayo?" And so I got the contact information. I wrote them and I said, "Tell me something both you and I only know." And he wrote back and he said, "Remember when I was on the running program, and every day afterwards you would make hot lemon juice for Julie and I?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we did." Because every day we'd sit in our little kitchen and I'd make lemon juice and stuff, and we'd sit around and we'd badmouth, the running program and this and that and everything that's going on that we all disagreed with. So my disaffection was still there, but I was behaving better.
Let me fill in some of the details, because I was on the other side of this while you were out gophering and running around with David Mayo. Okay. Because I was brought up there to, be in Religious Technology Center at that point, to be in charge of approving all of the evaluations and all that sort of stuff up there, right? Working for them. And anyway, David Mayo got removed by David Miscavige and Pat Broker, first based on some reports they sent up to L. Ron Hubbard. And it's believed, I think you know this, right, that Mayo had sec checked or security checked Miscavige, and somebody else or did Pat Broker, right? And then Jesse Prince did Miscavige. And then the knowledge reports from those sec checks were being sent up to Hubbard, because Hubbard was the one who ordered that they get sec checked, that they get security checked. Anyway, those reports never made it to Hubbard. Pat and DM, intercepted them, and then basically told Hubbard that David Mayo, was a squirrel, and that he was in cahoots with the mission holders, and he was having an out 2D, like he was married to Merrill Mayo, but he was really in love with Julie Gillespie, who was his assistant, and they denied it, but something was going on there, I guess, because they eventually ended up together. But anyway, so he was removed, and then he was included in the big committee of evidence that we're going to cover with Sandy Holman sometime soon, that was removing all of international management people. Okay, it was RTC conditions order number one, and they were going to remove them and declare them and get rid of them. This was Miscavige and Pat Broker starting to take over and get rid of everybody, and started with Mayo, because Mayo was relied upon by Hubbard. Mayo saved Hubbard's life auditing him at W, right, Janis? And
Yeah, he did.
And so he was a big time threat to Miscavige, right? And I'll never forget, I had to meet with David Mayo a few times, and Julie, before they got removed, where he basically told me, things are not as they appear at this location at the base, meaning he was referring to, like, there's something going on here, there's things at afoot, right? So he was sent down to run around the tree, and Hubbard was developing this thing called the running program. And like you said, you were just running straight, and they said, no, you're supposed to be running around a fixed location. And right. Mayo and Julie ran so much around that tree that they actually wore a ring of dirt into the ground. The grass died, you know what I mean? And they had run so much, Anyway, I just wanted to fill in those details, and then we can go into the program.
And you know what I forgot to mention, when they had Paul convince me to come back, and I came back.
Hi, Lara.
Hi, Lara. When I came back and I saw the LRH advice, that's where I was like, wait a minute, they had offloaded me and declared me, and obviously Hubbard didn't know they had done that. And so, but they'd been reporting to him how disaffected I was. And so when that first order came down to have me run, they must have panicked, which is why they were insistent Paul get me back, because they didn't want to report up. Oh, sorry, we've offloaded her. So
that's right.
Anyway, yeah. So that was the first order on the running program, and how it all started.
And then you eventually came. Then you eventually went. What did you eventually went back on a post somewhere, right?
Well, what happened after that is, Kerry and all those guys came up, and I was on the decks with them. I was fighting fires with Kerry, because they were all busted and being offloaded. And then Paul and I were like, I'm down in the G's. I'm still an SP. No one will talk to me. I've done what I've been told. So Paul and I walked up to HCO and we said, we want a routing form because we want to leave. And so they give us the form. And next thing you know, Steve Marlowe and Miscavige come down and see us. And they're like, what the hell, man? And I'm like, look, I'm doing nothing but chasing gophers and mowing lawns. No one's allowed to talk to me because I'm declared. And Paul and I are not going to get divorced. So we want to leave. At which point, Miscavige then ordered that we be assigned as expediters and gotten back into the CMO and the Commodore's Messenger org. So I started expediting, and Mike Rinder was the chief officer at the time. And so I ended up becoming his assistant, and then going on a mission to observe the mission network, because the finance police had destroyed them. And that's a whole nother story, because I then end up as the watchdog committee member for SMI because it had been destroyed.
Right. So now let me fill you in, okay, a little bit more on the running program itself, because I got busted. I was a member of that committee of evidence of all the Scientology executives, meaning I was a jury member, okay? And it came up, I completely disagreed with what was being done. I mean, literally, I'm thinking this is a bunch of BS, And so meanwhile, I'm getting auditing while I'm up there. And it comes up in my sessions that I disagree with what's going on and, handling all that. Well, it all gets reported up. And then the next thing you know, I'm removed from the committee of evidence because I'm disaffected, just like Janis, going, this is a bunch of BS, right? And so I get sent down to the RPF down in PAC, down at Big Blue. And I get sent down there to do the Rehabilitation Project Force, right? Because I couldn't be trusted or anything like that, right? Anyway, as part of the program, because Hubbard was trying to develop this running program at the time, anybody from the gold base international management who got sent to the RPF, it was a requirement that you had to do the running programs as part of your RPF program before you could graduate. So they set up they set up in Griffith Park, right? What you had to have, this is at the gold base. This is a photo at the gold base of what a running program track looks like. Okay, basically you've got the tree there in the center, right? And then you've got this, it's probably about, I don't know, 25 yards around circumference. And what you do is you're supposed to run in one direction to exhaustion with your attention on that tree or that pole in the center. You're supposed to have in your left eye or right eye peripheral vision, see that tree or pole while you're running around in one direction, right? And then the next day you turn around and you run the opposite direction with your eye catching the tree going the other way, right? And the whole theory behind this is that the only command is, there's a supervisor there, is run to exhaustion, right? Keep running. And all they can say to you is keep running. And when you get tired at running, then you can walk, but then they'll say you keep running, and then you would run some more. We would have to do this 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, rain or shine, until you were completed. Okay. And I was like, what? What do I have to do? You've got to do this 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anyway, I had to do it in Los Angeles. They set it up in Griffith Park. Okay. Griffith Park by the Greek Theater. Anybody? Lara is here, right? And Lara knows probably Griffith Park and the Greek Theater. Well, right across from the Greek Theater, there's a golf course. And then there was a parking area. There was like a dirt parking lot. And basically, every morning we would have to go there, and they had welded together some oil drums that we would have to lean up and put it in the middle of the dirt parking lot as the pole. And then we had to run around it in one direction one day and around it the other direction the other day. And it had to be lit at night, so that they had a generator and portable lights that we had to put on there. And we had to run around this. And there'd be like 15, 20 of us doing this every day, rain or shine. People thought we were nuts, and we were nuts.
Well, didn't my sister do it with you?
Yeah, I'll get to that. Yeah, so we're running, right? And then, of course, they come out and they feed you. And now this was a break from the RPF program because we didn't have to do any manual labor. Okay. And also we had to get 8 hours sleep a night. So we were kind of like, okay, plus you're getting in shape and it's exercise and you're outdoors, right? At first you're like, okay, well, whatever, we got to run. I'll never forget the first day I went and I ran, and the next day I could barely walk. I was so sore. I could not. And they would have you go out there, and even if you had to crawl, you had to go around. You could not stop because the way out is the way through, right? And so, you get to a while where you build up your endurance and you just keep doing it. And we got to have meals out there. But anyway, so it wasn't just the RPF. Terry, Janis's sister, got busted from Author Services, from the position she was in for whatever reason. I don't know. I never heard the full story on that, but Miscavige got rid of her. So he didn't assign her the RPF. He just put her on the running program. And that became the punishment du jour at the time. If you were removed, you got to go on the running program, and you're going to run 12 hours a day, 7 days a week until you're finished. And that's the way it was communicated to you. Meanwhile, every day you'd write up a daily report of any wins you had or anything that was going on or that type of thing to a case supervisor. And then the next day they would come back and they'd just say, keep running, right? And the idea was you were supposed to, the theory of it is that when you run around the pole, this was Hubbard's theory, and you have your attention on the tree, it's like two electrical current poles, right? You have to have a negative and a positive pole for electricity or energy to generate between them. So his theory was that when you had your attention on there and on yourself, that basically as you ran around, it worked like a generator, and you would spin things off of you. You would spin off incidents and things, and who knows what the hell it was, right? But they would spin, and that the end phenomena that you were supposed to come up with was being a exterior with full perceptics, that you were exterior from your body. You could run and you were outside your body and there was no stopping you and you were floating basically, right?
And
Anyway.
stabilized. And stabilized.
Stabilized. That was the end phenomena. And you didn't know what that end phenomena was. You just did it until that happened, right? So anyway, I was on the program for 36 days, rain or shine, day or night. And after 36 days, that happened to me, and I wrote that up. But of course, it was all being supervised by people at the international base in Gilman Hot Springs. So you had to wait, like if you were finished, for them to review it and then come back and say you're done. So I had to I overran it 15 days. I was on the program for 51 days until they finally said, okay, you're done and you're completed, right? But that was what the program was. And I was in great shape after 51 days, 12 hours a day. I mean, we literally were running a marathon a day, not like at full speed, but we were doing all that, burning tons of calories. I was feeling fantastic after, at the end. And I literally felt like I was floating as I was running around. And I've since found out that it's kind of like, it's a runner's high, that runners get these long distance runners, their body, they just get to the point where they're feeling great and they've got a high. But that was the running program, and that's what we had to do. And now they've packaged it up and they released it as part of the superpower program at the Flag Land Base when they opened up that building that you were at, Janis, across from the Fort Harrison.
Yeah, in Clearwater.
It's up on the top floor. They built a dome up on the top floor. You can't see it, but the people run inside that dome, and there's a pole in the middle, and they run around that thing one way one day and one way the other day, and that's what the program is. It's crazy.
Right. Well, and the program is also similar to what Hubbard had supervised for my mother to do when she was dying. He had said for her to be given the R factor of to have her go and find a planet and go around that planet. And then once she felt she was done, then she could come back down and get a new body. And in talking to Ray Midoff, who later became the most highest technical person, he's the one who had this discussion explaining the running program to me being similar to what my mother had to do. And, being a glutton for punishment and having enjoyed the running that I did, I didn't do it the proper way because I just ran everywhere. And Paul was now on the running program 5 hours a day. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go start running with Paul. So I did it again. And this time I did it around a pole. And when it would rain, it would be funny because people would be out there with big garbage bags over them as raincoats.
We didn't have ponchos, so we would use trash bags. And literally, how LA is getting all this rain this time of year? Well, when I did it, it was January and February of 1983. And it was a similar type El Nino, whatever storm. And literally, it'd be like 4 or 5 days straight of rain. And you'd be out there we had trash bags and your shoes would get soaked. And then at nighttime, they would take our shoes down to the boiler room at the Cedars complex, the hospital, so they would dry out overnight. And then we'd have to do the same thing all over again.
Well, Mark, that was very nice of them.
Yeah, I've got a couple other funny stories because we did this in Griffith Park, like I mentioned, right? Well, across the way was a golf course. It was just a little across the road. There's a golf course there, and they had a snack bar. And we were allowed to go there to get something to drink if we needed to or whatever. So we go over there, and I'll never forget it. We would go over there on, I don't know what day of the week it was, but an actor named, I think, Alan Hale Jr., who played the skipper on Gilligan's Island. He was an old man, but he was there every Tuesday or whatever it was to play golf. And he would see us when we came over to get something, we'd see him. And I saw the skipper from Gilligan's Island, right? The other funny thing is that if the Greek Theater was having a concert, then we had to postpone. We couldn't run that day, which was, oh boy, right? And then on Saturday mornings, that parking lot was rented every Saturday morning by a group of bullfighters from Mexican people that lived in LA, and they practiced bullfighting. So we got a break again. We got to sit there, and they had like a horn, like a bull's horns on a cart with wheels, and then somebody be pushing that cart around while the other person was taking their tape and doing all this stuff. And I'll never forget, it was Zumbale, Zumbale,
Oh dear.
I've been back there. I met Suzette Hubbard too. Suzette got assigned to that program, and I'd never met her before, and she was on that. We celebrated her birthday out there. They brought a cake and everything, and we're all RPFers, and we got to celebrate her birthday. Terry was there too. But
yeah, she just celebrated a birthday, February 13th.
Yeah. So anyway, so those were my memories of doing the running program at Griffith Park. I went back there years later, and it's been paved over now. It's actually, there's a volleyball court there and all that where we used to run. You can't, it's not flat anymore.
Right,
but,
right.
Anyway. And Terry used to. I forgot, there were homeless people too that were up in the woods and stuff, and you'd hear them, because we had to run till 9 o'clock at night, and it'd be dark, and you could hear them come walking out, talking to themselves and stuff.
Well, I remember Terry telling me when she went and got the sneakers to do the running program, she was trying to find a pair that would work, and the guy's like, "Well, where are you running?" And she's like, "Well, I'm running in circles, and I'm running, nonstop." And the guy's like, "What?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Catherine, you're right. It was twisted, and it was a false euphoria because it didn't last. But that was what Hubbard said. And then Janis, the thing you said about what your mother was told, my understanding is that's what L. Ron Hubbard told Ray Midoff to tell him to do, and to tell anybody when they died, when they left their body, that they were to go find a planet somewhere and run around the planet.
Right. And Ray did tell me that as well, that when he went to audit Hubbard in his last few days, that Hubbard had told him, because before Ray went up there, he had to go through my mother's PC folder and find the exact CS, case supervision instructions, that Hubbard had written for her, so that Ray could get that and go up and do it on him.
Yeah. Good Lord, LRH never did this running? No, Linda, he never did running. No, he was not running. It was all, do as I say, not as I do.
And you know what? I never saw a pair of sneakers in his closet, so he never even had sneakers to run in.
Janis, you told me once his exercise was he would take newspaper, right? Am I right? Like he would do exercise. Yeah. What would he do? Go ahead, tell everybody.
Well, he did several things. After he'd hurt his hand once, he would pick up a corner of a newspaper and, go like this and wind it all crumple it up into his hand. And then he had one of those bull
workers. Yeah.
Yeah, he had one of those. And then he'd have us messengers hold one end of it, and then he'd push on the other. And, we were young girls, and he'd just push us around his office as we're trying to hold our position. And yeah, that was pretty much all he did for exercise, and take a walk around the deck, or when we were on land, certain places he'd go for a walk, but run, never.
Yeah, no, he was too busy with this unfiltered cools, smoking the cigarettes.
Yeah. Well, he did stop smoking in his later days.
Oh.
Just so he did. And he said he stopped smoking, and he'd gone on an apple juice diet, and he was a small little old man. He was no longer, that big bulk that he had.
This was when he was in hiding for 6 years.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Misha's sounding the alarm. She's saying it's time for our book giveaway, Janis.
Okay.
We're going to go. Right. Just so everybody knows, we're going to go to questions here in a minute. So if you've got a question, please write question. We'll start and go through some comments. But before we do that, if you want to win an autographed copy of one of Janis's book, either book 1, which is this one here, or book 2, we're going to do a giveaway. So you just get in the chat and just say me, or book me, or whatever you want to say. And then we're going to do a countdown and just randomly choose somebody for the book. And then we'll give you Janis's email address where you can email your mailing address and anything that you want her to write in the book or which book that you want. And then this is for people in the US, okay? And if you win it, she'll send it out to you. She'll autograph it to you. You can tell her what you want autographed it and all that. So anyway, it's kind of a fun little game here that we're going to play for you guys. As Misha, she's so excited.
Well, let's get rolling on this.
All right, so people get in the chat. You'll book me. Say there's a delay on the chat. I don't see too many people in here, but just say me, or choose me, or whatever you want to say, and then I'll have Janis do a countdown. We'll give you just a second here. Oh, I see Betsy Sue's here. I think she's won before. But anyway, if you want to win another one, that's not a problem at all. I see a bunch of people getting in here now. And if you like, Janis, you can do the countdown, and then I'll just select somebody, countdown from 5, okay?
Oh, okay. 1. Oh, countdown from 5. 5,
yeah.
4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off.
Catherine, book me, please. Congratulations, Catherine. You are now a winner of either book 1 or book 2 of Janis's. And all you need to do is email Janis at, hold on, here it is right here.
Janis Gilliland-Grady
at gmail.com. Yeah, email her your name and your mailing address, what you would like written in the book, which book you would like, and then we'll get it shipped off to you, and it'll be out to you within a matter of days. So congratulations on that. And if anybody else is interested in Janis's book, she doesn't cover stories like she's doing today because she hasn't written book 3 yet. But if you're interested in stories from book 1, right, or book 2,
yep.
Just go down below into our shop. You can order them right there, and same thing in the U.S. We'll ship them to you. If you're in the non-U.S. and you want to donate the $50 or whatever it is to ship them, that's your prerogative. You can do that as well. And anyway, just make sure that we know that, and we'll get them shipped off to you. So anyway, I want to say congratulations to Catherine. Anyway, that's that. So we are ready to do any questions or comments. Janis,
okay.
I'll go through, start at the top. I think a lot of them are comments. I don't see a lot of questions. But
yeah, they are. I don't see any questions, comments.
Well, I started some stuff, so let me go ahead here.
Oh, okay.
So first of all, this is from Love Food Kitchen. Potentially my favorite of all the Hawaiian shirts. This is a whole tropical scheme. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I like this one too.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be festive for our return to live streams.
Yeah, and he didn't even tell me we were getting all colorful for this. So here I am in dull pink.
Thank you, Love Food Kitchen. Kelly, I cannot picture LRH running ever. Yeah, neither can I.
No, he didn't. I don't even have to imagine it because I know he didn't.
Did you ever see him move quickly, like an emergency on the bridge at the Apollo or something?
Oh yeah. It was a real fast walk to the bridge. Yes, I have seen that.
Yeah. And a comment again from Love Kitchen. Surely we can just pay the shipping if it's international. If it costs $50, yes. We'll pay $50. Well, the way you do it is there's a place where you can donate. There'll be a shipping charge there, and it's based on the weight. But what happens is that it's less than what the actual shipping cost is. So you can add donations. This is on Fourth Wall. You just add in a donation for additional money, and then we'll just use it for the shipping. So if you are in the UK or Canada or Australia, which is where we've had to send them, you can do that if you like.
Yes.
We just wanted to let you know that. Thank you, Love Food Kitchen.
Or you can, hang on, Mark, or they can order direct from Amazon. It won't be autographed, but they can order the books from Amazon at a regular, shipping price or Prime or whatever.
That's right. Hold on a sec here. All right. Please subscribe to our channel. Okay, and I see Apostate Alex is in the house. Hey, Mark. Hey, Janis. I've missed seeing you two live.
Hey, Alex.
You're here, Alex. And Lara FM is here as well. It's good to see her as well. Laura. I say Lara because it's Lara, but is it Laura, right?
It's Lara. I heard it was Lara.
Okay. And then Alex says, I was so hyped for the Cause Resurgence when it came out with Superpower. I wanted to do it so bad. If I knew what it actually was, I don't think I would have been as excited. No, when you, like I said, when it was announced to us that we had to do the program, it was treated as a punishment. You know what I mean? That's the way that Miscavige or anybody would talk about, like, haha, he's got to go do the running program. You know what I mean? It
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
considered. It wasn't considered a good thing.
it was a punishment. It was because I was so disaffected that it was expected to have me go and do that, that it would handle my disaffection, and that I would suddenly agree with all the takedown of all these people. And
Well, no, I mean it was used for that, but it was supposedly a rundown that they're now selling to the public. They're not
yeah,
selling it as a punishment. It's the Cause Resurgence Rundown.
yeah.
Laura FM. Oh God, I remember this at Gold Base when I was on the purification rundown at Gold Base at 9 years old. Yeah, the running track, I guess, was right next to the sauna for the Purif at the Gold Base. This was after we left. But yeah, no, that was it. Now they've since bulldozed that track. This thing here, this thing has been bulldozed. It's not there anymore. They've got rid of it. This is an
So
aerial.
they don't have any running track anymore.
Not there, no. This was an aerial photo that was used in Business Weekly or whatever. It was a paparazzi that took this photo and said, "Look at this weird track" and all that.
Well,
And
because
so they
you know
got rid of it.
what? You know what, Mark? Because they don't want the staff to become more causative.
I guess, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, but Miscavige would then make people redo the purification rundown. This is after we left.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of people having to do the purification rundown 2-3 times, sweating in the sauna. Like that's supposedly going to help handle whatever disagreements they have with Miscavige.
I bet Miscavige never did the running program. He hadn't while I was there.
No. This is a good question. Calico 26, did people who were hurt have to do the running program? If you got hurt, like if you had a Charlie horse or if you bruised a muscle or something like that, you were expected to continue. They would treat it and all that if you scraped yourself up and all that. But it was considered that you were going through something and the way out is the way through. So if you had to hobble around the pole, you hobbled around the pole. At least when I did it, that's what you had to do.
Yep, same here.
Crazy.
Yep, the way out is the way through was a very standard Scientology thing.
Yeah, and the other thing that they would say is, what turned it on? What turned it on? We'll turn it off. That's another Scientology datum. What turns it on? We'll turn it off. So that means the way out is the way through. Meaning you just need to confront it and go through it. Not like, oh, well, I actually twisted my ankle because there was a rock there that I didn't see. You know what I mean? Anyway. Linda P. Golan question: what do you both think DM's opinion is of L. Ron Hubbard today? Thanks, guys. You go first.
He has no opinion of Hubbard today because DM is it.
Yeah, I don't think that
Hubbard is a nothing to him.
Yeah, I think he's proven that he did all these things because Hubbard was going to return, like build the big mansion, Bonneview, and do all this, archiving in the caves of all of L. Ron Hubbard's stuff, because that keeps the Scientologists who knew about that in line. You know what I mean? But I don't think he thinks that's ever going to happen. I think Miscavige is going to die, and basically he doesn't give a shit. Sorry, he doesn't care. Sorry about that word.
Yeah, but also he's probably thinks he's achieved more than Hubbard in the many years that he's run Scientology than Hubbard has, because you look at all these buildings. You don't look at Hubbard had an intention of clearing people, and that was what Hubbard was going for. With DM is how many buildings can we buy and renovate? So it went from renovating people to renovating buildings.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that question, Linda. This is from Lori Driscoll. Question: seriously, how many people at a time were running with you? I'd bump into people as exhausted as I'd imagine getting. When I was doing it was about 10 to 15 people, and it was a big track. I mean, well, it wasn't a track, but it was a big parking lot. So you just ran, and if you had to go by somebody, you just pass it on the left, pass it on the right. Oh God.
But you could take breaks. I mean, you get
you get You could
You
sit
go
down,
and you sit
drink
down and
water,
you have some water or get something
take
to eat.
minerals. We had to chew
Yes.
mineral tablets, because you're sweating so much.
Yeah. And then if you took a too long a break, the running program in charge would tell you to get back out there and keep running.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks for that question, Lauren. Catherine, question: do you think Pat Broker was bamboozled by DM regarding the takeover from LRH, or did Pat get something else like money besides being the chairman of the board?
Okay. Pat had a lot of financial crimes that were found out about, and there was probably more. I mean, he was buying some properties. He was buying and selling horses and cattle, and with Scientology money that was
L. Ron
not
Hubbard money.
authorized.
Yeah.
No, well, it was money. Yeah, it was money from Scientology, not just L. Ron Hubbard money, both, because Hubbard had his own money, but there was also money that was sent to support the place that Pat would cipher off. And there was money that was found when DM came in and did his takeover. There was a stash of money found under the sink. And that was Pat's downfall. Though Pat had other stuff, this was the downfall. And this was what was being held against him, because they could get him arrested for theft and other things like that. But that's what took Pat down, was that money.
Yeah. They also, though, they threatened him with that because, excuse me, I took a sip and went down the wrong pipe, so I sound different. Because everything was sent to Pat and L. Ron Hubbard in cash, so there was no record of the cash, right? So Miscavige threatened him with the fact, saying, like, you stole this money, we sent it up and we documented the stuff going up there, but we don't see anything that, the receipts of this stuff. So he did a lot of different things to get rid of Pat. And Pat did use the money for lots of different things. As a matter of fact, in the SEC checks that were done by Jesse Prince on DM and David Mayo on Pat Broker, they'd taken some of LRH's money and gone to Las Vegas and spent it on gambling and prostitutes in Las Vegas. And that was in those knowledge reports that came up. So, they had things that they were hiding. Anyway.
Right.
Okay. Kelly H. Interesting how the ones who come up with the punishments never actually did the wacky things they ordered. Yeah, I never saw.
True.
David Miscavige, I always wondered, had he ever gotten in trouble? And Janis thankfully told me that when he was 16 or 17, he had a failed mission and he got in trouble. That's the only time I ever heard of him.
Well, no, and he got in trouble. He got in trouble for getting in a car accident very close to the base in La Quinta. And then he and Pat Broker got in trouble, and the two of them I remember watching them picking vegetables and gardening. And that was in 77, 78. So yeah, he did get in trouble.
Okay. And Broken Shadow Feather. I think the other people would help me keep going after being totally exhausted, knowing we can get through the punishment together. Yeah, you encouraged each other. Yeah, we were all, we all wanted to get done and get through it. So, and you could talk. It was, it was arduous, but then once you got into the routine of it, it actually was a break from having to do all the manual labor and all the crap that you had to deal with. We were outside, and we would laugh and joke, and so it was something.
But when I did it by myself, I had to mentally push myself to do it, and to I better get up. I'll get in trouble if I don't. I better not stop. They're watching me, and it was easier for me when I did it later on around the track with other people, because you don't want to sit there and watch them all go around. So you all kind of encourage each other and do it together. And everyone's going through the same pain.
That's right. Mary Kay London. Hi, Mary Kay. How you doing? LOL. When Misha barks my dog, Albie answers him. LOL. Oh, that's great. Yeah, Misha's communicating to all the doggies out there.
Well, lucky I have headphones on, or my boys would be going berserk every time they'd hear Misha.
Yeah, they go berserk anytime the mailman or anybody else, comes to the door.
Yeah.
Any other questions anybody wants to ask? Because otherwise we're going to wrap up here. I just want to remind everybody that we are going to be having a live. Hold on, there's Misha again. There's Misha. She's speaking to all the doggies out there. We're going to be doing another live on Saturday with Scott and Carrie Campbell, and that will be at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time Saturday, and they'll be answering the questions about their treatment, the abuses that they had to endure, and their life after leaving Scientology. So anyway, you can look forward to that on Saturday. And do you see any more questions, Janis, that we need to answer?
No, I don't. I think we're done.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say a few things here. Please subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate the people who have stuck with us and are watching our videos. We're here to tell the history of Scientology as we knew it. Hopefully, it'll help people have, open clarity for them in terms of peeling their own onion. And also, we want the abuses. We have people who tell the stories of their abuses. Scott and Carrie Campbell is a good example of that. John McClane. And what his family, Nan McClane, what they went through in Canada. We do these stories so that there's a record of them. People can find these online and they can watch them. So if you're interested in good stories, which is what we're here for, good stories about what people went through and what Scientology was all about, please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos. We would really appreciate it. Also, if you have any questions, go ahead, Janis.
Yeah, no, we do have some beaut stories. So yeah, definitely watch our videos and you'll learn a lot of the history and why things are as they are today.
Yeah, and also Janis, because we've been doing these stories, other people have been reaching out to Janis who were used to be high executives in Scientology who have never told their stories, and they're going to be coming on our channel as well. So you can look forward to that in the future. If you've got any questions, please ask in the comment section. We check them. I check them all the time, and we answer them back. And anyway, if you have any comments or anything that we've said. And then also, if you'd like to support our channel, you can buy us a coffee. There's a link down in the video description. Just click on it. Follow the instructions. You can buy us a coffee. You can also donate to us through our merchandise store. If you go and you buy a t-shirt or a hat or one of Janis's books or a koala calm, there's a place where you can donate money to our channel as well. The money we get, it doesn't pay for our lifestyle. It really just goes back into the channel. There's it's not a lot of money. We just don't get that much. But if you want to help us out, we would really appreciate it. So you can buy us a coffee. Janis is laughing. Anyway.
I can never live off this money.
No. I don't even think it pays for the phone bill or anything like that.
That's why I have other jobs.
This
is a hobby.
Yeah, we do this out of the goodness of our heart. No, I'm joking.
Well, actually, I do it because I get pissed off hearing other stories where they don't know the actual history. And I'm like, that's not what happened. So that's why I do this.
Yeah, Janis has a really good memory, as all of you all know, and she likes to correct the record if she can. So anyway, that's all we've got for this episode. We really appreciate you watching, and until the next one, which will be Saturday, bye everybody.
Bye. Thank you.